Few hours later, within Ma's building, he opened his apartment door and was welcomed by a cute Meng. She rushed to hug her father excitedly. He asked her what she did at home today, and Meng replied that the landlady had given her a picture book. After Zhuang Wu adopted Meng, landlady Ma Chun often visited, helping to take care of Meng. Ma also warned him sternly not to behave improperly towards Meng. As they greeted each other cheerfully, their stomachs growled with hunger. He assured Meng that he would prepare dinner. Since becoming a father, he had learned to prepare all sorts of fried rice dishes, such as egg and dried radish fried rice, ham fried rice, tomato fried rice, and more. However, when he opened the cabinet, it was bare. He checked the refrigerator and found it was empty too, leading him to realize they had run out of food. Meng saw her father's disheartened look and tugged at Wu's shirt. She cheerfully told him that she wasn't hungry. Observing her, he was reminded that Meng's diet for the past half year had been nothing but mustard with rice, white sugar with porridge, and a single loaf of bread shared between the two of them. He apologized to Meng with a heavy heart, realizing she hadn't lived a good life since he adopted her. He asked if she wanted to eat fried chicken, to which Meng excitedly replied that she did. However, her excitement faded as she remembered something and told Wu that she didn't want it after all. When Wu asked why, she explained that if they spent too much money, he wouldn't be able to pay the rent. Wu acknowledged that he still owed Ma 3 months' rent, maintenance, and medical fees, but reassured Meng that they could afford a lavish feast today, even though his balance was a mere 121 RMB. He assured Meng that from that day forward, they would bid farewell to poverty. He then ordered a set of chicken that cost 120 RMB. He knew that in the post-disaster world, the player had become everyone's idol and many people admired them. These individuals either had a strong physique or unexplainable healing abilities, but most importantly, they were all wealthy, and as long as they possessed the player identity, they could enter dungeons. He also knew that unlike wild monsters, underground monsters dropped monster crystals. One E-level monster crystal could be exchanged for 500 RMB, a D-level crystal for 1000 RMB, and a C-level monster crystal for 2000 RMB. This made him believe that becoming a player could also make him rich. Soon, someone knocked on their door to deliver their silver arch family meal set. Wu and Meng ate it with fervor, tears streaming down their faces. As night fell, he tucked a sleeping Meng into bed, carefully pulling a blanket over her. He heard her mumble happily in her sleep about how lovely the French fries were. Subsequently, he returned to his computer desk and checked the chat forum. He saw news that at 4 p.m. that afternoon, the Jackalope King had appeared in the city's suburbs, causing a rabbit horde. 4 players were attacked by the swarm of rabbits and hospitalized. Fortunately, they were rescued in time and their lives were no longer in danger. He was relieved that the players with him hadn't perished. If they had, he would have been plagued by guilt. The top and trending posts on the forum were all written by him. After the disaster, Wu had been doing his best to assist others in this way. To the players, Wu was akin to a god. However, there were occasional accidents, like the incident where 50 people entered the dungeon and only 2 survived. According to one survivor, the team leader had over-relied on the dungeon guide and had failed to adapt. Players asked if the God's Guide was truly helpful, but he knew that it was his worst guiding failure ever. This failure had led to the creation of multi-level dungeons and a new boss. He understood that it was all due to the system's updates and additional content in the game. In their harsh world, even if they succeeded 99 times, a single mistake could mean the end for them. After that incident, Wu gradually stopped uploading guides. The following day, he arrived at the prairie on the outskirts of S City. Aware of his current financial difficulties, he knew he needed to find a way to generate income. He loudly declared that he could forego a meal, but he couldn't bear to see Meng do the same. Surveying the boars nearby, he realized he was currently at level 6 and needed to reach level 10 by that morning. Therefore, he resolved to undertake the profession-changing mission. Venture into the underground dungeon and gather monster crystals. He also understood that those fang boars were extremely aggressive and moved in packs. They didn't drop any crystals, making hunting them a futile endeavor, and this was why few players showed interest in them. However, unbeknownst to others, he had secretly included additional rewards in the game during its creation. Normally, hunting the same monster repeatedly would yield diminishing experience points, but after defeating 100 fang boars, a player's experience would double. With his trusty shovel, he struck a level 3 fang boar cub, understanding that reaching level 10 swiftly depended on his current hunt. A notification popped up, informing him that he had successfully killed a fang boar cub, earning him 10 experience points. Energized, he continued his hunting spree. He felt a sense of pride looking at the felled boars but was taken aback when he noticed a group of massive, angry boars behind him. He fled, apologizing to the boars in hot pursuit. but they persisted. A notification indicated that his demon imitation skill had been reset. Halting his flight, he slowly turned around, addressing the boars, indicating that it was now his turn to retaliate. Activating his demon imitation skill, he leaped towards the boars, causing them to collapse in fear. He methodically finished them off with his shovel, earning 50 experience points for each boar, helping him reach level 10 with ease and triggering the profession-changing mission. Upon accessing the game's interface, he was relieved to see that he had finally achieved level 10. Although it had taken him half an hour longer than expected, he still had ample time. His demon race profession-changing mission was to clear the Demon Wolf dungeon located on the northern side of the Sky Tree within 60 minutes. The Demon Wolf dungeon was an E-level underground dungeon, suitable for teams of 5 players who had already changed professions and had levels ranging from 10 to 20. In this new fantasy world, there were 2 types of dungeons, underground dungeons and fixed underground dungeons. Fixed underground dungeons had set locations and physical gates. The monsters within these dungeons could not escape, and once players cleared these dungeons, they would reopen. On the other hand, random underground dungeons were spatial cracks that could randomly appear in the wilderness or the city. If left uncleared for too long, the monsters could exit these dungeons and invade the earth. Moreover, these dungeons would vanish once players had cleared them. He felt the difficulty of the profession-changing mission was hellish and suspected that the system was intentionally targeting him. After humanity had unleashed nuclear weapons on the Sky Tree, it formed a circular defense shield that blocked all technological devices. If a car approached the Sky Tree, it would spontaneously combust. If a battle jet flew into the shield, it would lose its propulsion, and no signals could penetrate the shield. Thus, horse-drawn carriages were the most common mode of transportation around the Sky Tree, offered free of charge by the Management Association for players. Climbing into a carriage, he admired the picturesque prairie, reflecting that nature could thrive better without human interference. Eventually, they reached their destination, and he was elated to finally arrive at the Demon Wolf dungeon. As was the case in many MMORPG games, some players would halt their level progression to assist other players in exchange for money. These players advertised themselves as a carry team and promised to provide crystals and equipment to those willing to join them. Understanding the need to clear his mission within an hour, he contemplated enlisting some players to aid him. One player informed him they had a slot available and asked if he wished to join. When he inquired about the cost, the player responded that it was 20,000 RMB per journey, with a promotional offer of 6 rides for the price of 5. The price stunned him, and he declined. He then noticed the group he had previously seen. Their levels seemed to have increased, and they were equipped with superior gear. Suddenly, Chen Xin, level 19, approached him, causing him to panic and hastily open his inventory. He knew he had to prevent them from recognizing him. Chen Xin mentioned that their team consisted of 4 players and needed 1 more. He then asked if he would like to join them. He looked up, donning a mask, which prompted Chen Xin to ask why he was wearing it. He explained that he was a miner, a profession dedicated to mining monster crystals within dungeons, and typically did not engage in battles. Chen Xin reassured him that his profession was not an issue and he could join them. Chen Xin also mentioned that the equipment loot would be divided amongst the 4 original members, but they would distribute the crystals equally with him. Relieved they had not recognized him, he considered that their team's levels and equipment were on par with those of the carry teams. He concluded it was beneficial to ally with them and agreed to Chen Xin's proposition. Together, they opened the dungeon gate, greeted by pitch-black darkness. Since the Sky Tree inhibited all technological devices, they relied on torches for illumination instead of flashlights. Holding their torches, they ventured further into the dungeon, and he activates his demon's eyes. They notice shining crystals embedded in the ground and the walls. Kai Xiaozhang, level 18, was eager to collect the monster crystals, but Chen Xin cautioned him against it. A wolf emerged from the dark, its red eyes glaring at them with hostility. It was a level 12 armored demon wolf. Chen Xin warned his team about the armored demon wolves and instructed them to ready themselves for battle while he drew the wolves' attention. One of the wolves lunged to attack them, but they released an arrow and struck it just as Chen Xin was closing in on it. Subsequently, Chen Xin decapitated it. Another wolf pounced on Chen Xin, but luckily Qi Zhenzai unleashed her magic in time, striking the wolf before it could attack Chen Xin. Chen Xin informed his team that both demon wolves had been dispatched and advised them to restore their energy before moving forward. He then addressed Wu, warning him about the dangers ahead and suggesting that he stay behind to mine. Then Chen Xin's team proceeded to continue, leaving him thinking that even though Chen Xin's group had good equipment, it was impossible for them to clear the demon wolf dungeon within an hour. He started digging with his shovel, knowing that the boss was very close to the entrance, just right underneath him. A minute later, his shovel reached the underground. He descended using a rope, but as soon as he set foot on the ground, he was greeted by a wolf. Looking up, he was stunned to see it. The wolf leapt to attack him. Fortunately, he dodged it, but suffered 10 points of damage from its sharp claws. He looked back and saw that the wolf had crashed on the ground. He opened his inventory, aware that at times like these, he had to use it. Then he showed the wolf the dead jackalope, surprising it. The wolf's fierceness immediately changed into puppy-like behavior upon seeing the jackalope. He threw the bunny to it, knowing that the armored demon wolves, living in dungeons, had a poor diet and were irresistibly drawn towards jackalopes. He took his chance and continuously stabbed the armored wolf's belly, knowing that its weak point was the stomach. Then a notification popped up, informing him that he had killed an armored demon wolf and obtained 100 experience points. He was glad that he gained a lot of experience and could also get a crystal, so he decided he should level up there. Suddenly, he heard something approaching from behind him. Turning around, he saw a swarm of wolves heading towards him. As they were about to attack him, he immediately jumped to the rope, shouting that he forgot the jackalope's smell would attract demon wolves. He ascended the rope swiftly, bidding farewell to the wolves. Once he reached the top, he told the wolves they couldn't follow him up there, but the wolves ran away, making him wonder why they left. He peeked at where the wolves had run and saw that they were surrounding Chen Xin's group. He felt genuinely sorry for the 4 of them, but he figured since they could survive the Jackalope King's attack, demon wolves shouldn't pose much of a problem. Xiao Zhang aimed his arrow and released it, stabbing a wolf in the eye. He then asked Chen Xin what was wrong with the underground dungeon and why there were so many armored demon wolves. But before Chen Xin could reply, the wolf that Xiao Zhang had injured pushed him to the ground and bit his arm. Looking closer, he saw that it was in berserk mode, making him wonder why the wolves were behaving this way when they hadn't provoked them. Chen Xin swung his sword at the wolf attacking Xiao Zhang while shouting at his group to focus on their duty and not to be dazed. Chen Xin called Jin Yun Kang and ordered him to heal Xiao Zhang first, to which Yun Kang immediately obeyed. Chen Xin then approached Qi Zenzai and ordered her to cast explosive fireballs at the wolves. Yun Kang wondered if they were cursed. Not long ago, they were hospitalized because of the Jackalope King and had just been discharged, but strange occurrences began to happen again in the E-level dungeon. Zenzai cast a fireball and attacked the wolves with it, but the wolves avoided it in time and leapt towards them to attack. Zenzai told Chen Xin that there were too many demon wolves and suggested that they should retreat. Chen Xin blocked one of the wolf attacks and shouted for his group to retreat and cover Zenzai while she cast fireballs. But before they could retreat, they heard a loud growl, and when they looked up, they saw a huge wolf glaring at them. The other wolves surrounded them, pinning them in the center. Yun Kang fearfully told his team they were doomed, and Xiao Zhang asked his team if the huge wolf was the demon wolf leader of the second floor gatekeeper, and why it had come to the first floor. On the other hand, Wu was relaxedly digging into the ground. He was happy because the boss's room was right below him, but he stopped when he heard a loud growl from the first floor. He thought the 4 of them had good equipment and they should be fine, but he decided to take a look because he knew that the mission could wait, but it would be bad if Chen Xin's group died. He remembered that he had almost caused their deaths once. He quietly walked towards where the growl was coming from and saw that Chen Xin's group was surrounded by wolves. He planned to help them by luring the demon wolf leader away, thinking they should be able to deal with the remaining armored demon wolves. Suddenly, a bright red light shone from them, making him wonder what it was. Chen Xin revealed a weapon, shimmering brightly, an artifact known as the Fire Lizard's Madness Flame Dagger. This level D artifact imbues the wielder with flames. Its effects boost defense, attack, and recovery rate by 50% and last for 60 minutes, but are only available to players below level 20. Wu recognized this as a rare item dropped by the underground dungeon boss, which would usually disappear after a single use. Xiao Zhang informed Chen Xin that they had spent half a year's savings on it. Yun Kang pointed out that if others knew they'd used a D-level artifact in an E-level dungeon, they'd be mocked mercilessly. Chen Xin, however, retorted that they should wait until they had survived the ordeal to discuss it further. From a distance, Wu acknowledged that they didn't require his help. He knew that the D-level artifact could fetch at least 500,000 at the auction house, yet it was reserved for emergencies. Chen Xin's group was the first ever to employ a D-level artifact in an E-level dungeon. Checking the countdown of his mission, Wu noted there was only half an hour remaining. He needed to move swiftly. A minute later, he had finished digging the last underground passage and carefully descended. Landing in the Demon Wolf Dungeon boss room, he assessed his adversaries. The first monster, Double-Headed Wolf Thors, was a level 20 Demon Wolf Dungeon elite, known for its extreme cruelty. It was an E-level creature with a special ability known as Tear. The second creature, the boss monster named Half-Beastman Luca, was a level 25 with 2000 HP. Once a half-beastman chieftain, Luca had become corrupted and assumed the role of the Demon Wolf Dungeon boss. As a D-rank entity, his weapon of choice was a large axe. In an effort to make the exploration of this new fantasy world more exhilarating, Wu had sprinkled checkpoints and Easter eggs throughout the game. One significant Easter egg in the Demon Wolf dungeon allowed players to reach the boss room without engaging in combat. Following the usual route, players would only reach the door of the boss room. However, Wu had dug a hole directly into the boss room to avoid waking the boss. He opened his inventory to find a roasted pig. Combining it with sleeping mushrooms, potent sleeping pills, and alcohol, he fashioned a sure sleeping medicine roasted pig. Slowly and deliberately, he approached the slumbering double-headed wolf with the doctored meal. He placed it near the wolf and hastily retreated. Awoken by Wu's movement, the wolf was taken aback by the sight of the roasted pig. One of its heads eagerly bit into the meal, causing the other head to grow angry and bite its counterpart. As the two heads bickered, Wu contemplated whether he should have brought 2 roasted pigs. Silently praying that the noisy dispute wouldn't awaken the boss, he anticipated the imminent onset of the sleeping medicine's effects. After a few tense minutes, the double-headed wolf collapsed, indicating the sure sleeping medicine roasted pig had taken effect. Wu quietly approached half-beastman Luca, knowing that despite its less potent physical power compared to the wolf, it maintained control through its D-level large axe and tornado dance skill. The weapon, named Half-Beastman's Large Axe, had an attack power range of 35 to 50. Its special ability was the Tornado Dance Slash, with a cooldown period of 30 minutes. This artifact, a treasured heirloom of the Beastman tribe, was meant to be owned by the Beastman chieftain. However, after becoming corrupt, Luca had stolen it and removed it from the tribe's domain. The weapon required a usage level of 25. Incredulous that he had set the requirement at level 25, Wu crept towards the axe, mumbling about wanting to punch himself. However, he froze as the boss stirred awake. Swiftly, he stashed the axe in his inventory. The boss prepares its fists, aiming for Wu, who managed to dodge. Still, the debris from the impact damaged him by 20 HP. Wary of the potent attack, Wu realized that a direct hit could have cost him half his HP. As the boss lunged again, Wu dodged and then sprinted away, pleading for a break to apply his buffs. He opened his inventory, consumed Lao Zhang's spicy rabbit head to boost his speed by 5% for 5 minutes, then activated his Bunny Slayer title skill, increasing his berserk strength by 10% for 10 minutes. Brandishing 2 shovels, he turned to face the boss, declaring the chase over. As the angry boss approached, a notification popped up, revealing only 14 minutes remained to complete the mission. Recognizing it was time for action, Wu prepared for the offensive. They were facing each other, while the double-headed wolf slept peacefully on the side. The creature lunged a fist to attack him, but he blocked it deftly with the head of his shovel. Gripping his shovel tightly, he slashed at the creature, dealing 15 points of damage. He quickly realized that the damage inflicted had no effect. To defeat the monster, he would need to land 200 hits of the same magnitude. For a team, this task wouldn't be difficult. If there was a warrior who could absorb the boss's strikes and provoke it, the other members could continuously attack. But at that moment, he was alone, and he had no time to provoke the boss. The beast picked up a large stone from the ground and hurled it at him. He couldn't dodge it, the stone was too fast. It hit him, and he suffered 60 points of damage. Leaning against the wall, he was surprised that the boss had a throwing skill. It seemed that the system had modified the beast. This was not the boss he was familiar with. The creature grabbed the chain of the double-headed wolf, making him wonder why it had stopped attacking him. Suddenly, half-beastman Luca slapped the wolf repeatedly, surprising him. He opened the interface, berating the boss for its cowardice. He was fighting it alone, yet it wanted to call its teammate for help. Looking at his remaining points, he knew he couldn't let it wake the double-headed wolf. But even if he invested all his remaining points into strength, it wouldn't help much. Still, he needed to survive, so he risked it all, putting his remaining stats into agility. He thought he might currently be the most agile level 10 player. He ran towards the boss, stabbing it with his 2 shovels, dealing 18 and 20 points of damage. The beast growled furiously, attacking him with its sharp claws. He deftly rolled into the air to dodge the attack, extinguishing the torches in the process. Landing, he told the panic-stricken boss that it had been a false attack. His original plan was to extinguish the torches, for in darkness, his demon eyes gave him a significant advantage. Confused and wary, the boss felt the eyes behind it, and immediately turned to block his attack from behind. Frustrated that it could still sense his attack, he spun in the air, shouting that the fight wasn't over yet. He slashed and stabbed its neck, dealing 130 points of damage by hitting its weak point. The beast's current HP dropped to 1817 out of 2000. The creature punched back at him, but he disappeared swiftly. As it looked around, a shovel was launched at it. He stabbed at its weak point, the kneecap, slowing it down. Seizing the opportunity, he stabbed at its other weak point, the eye reducing its eyesight. He dealt 120 points of damage. He stepped back as the beast collapsed on the ground, thinking about how effective his stealth attacks were in the dark. He ran towards the creature to continue attacking, but it reached for the chain on the ground, swinging it in a fit of anger. Unfortunately, the chain struck him in the stomach, throwing him harshly to the ground. He took 75 points of damage, leaving him with a meager 100 out of 250 HP. Painfully, he opened his inventory, cursing in anger. He grabbed his medicine just as the creature attacked again. He ran, the system warning him that the creature was adapting to the dark. He drank a mid-level healing potion, set to recover 100 HP within 10 seconds. Once his recovery was complete, he stopped running and faced the beast, ready to continue the attack. He leaped and struck its head with his shovel, then continuously hit it in the face, shoulder, hand, and chin, until its HP dropped to 650 out of 2000. Suddenly, a notification popped up in front of him, stating that the HP of the Demon Wolf Dungeon's boss, half-beastman Luca, had fallen to a third, and it was entering berserk mode.